for coming out. I'm very nervous. As Diana was saying, I was very excited to tell my story. Started when my trauma was 5 years old. I've lost both my parents with a car accident, drinking and driving. So that's where, how can you lose something when you didn't have? And you're Indian little girl over there. I was just thinking, I'm like, where's mine? But yeah, I didn't have that little girl inside me. Didn't lose her, didn't have her in the first place. So it was just on my reserve in Williams Lake, BC, just down the road from our house when I lost them. And I remember it from the day, like I told my brother I remember that day. It was just actually 2 years ago when I first went to treatment. My family told him what has happened. Like he thought I didn't know because I was so young. I was only 5 years old. How can somebody remember such a tragic accident? So I told him the details of him running out the door and coming back crying. And I was standing out front the window with my second oldest brother. I have 2 brothers and 2 half-brothers. And I was daddy's little girl. And I would get away with everything. But I told him that, I remember that day. And he's like, wow, did our aunties tell you what happened? I'm like, no, I just remember. And that was the start of my trauma. So guilt, shame, anger, sadness, and the repeat went on in my life. So going from losing them has been a financial difference in my life. Every time I think about, what's gonna happen on my wedding day? What's gonna happen on my graduation day? All those questions came in my head. And, today I don't have to do that because I love myself. I'd go from relationship to relationship to, find that love. And the only thing that was missing was me to love myself. And so going back to my childhood, I was placed in the care of my auntie and uncle in Williams Lake. There was a court case for us, and it was never about the love for us. We had a big settlement when I was 19, and that was 35 grand, which I spent on alcohol and drugs as soon as I turned 19. And jumping from relationship to relationship. And I was sexually, physically, emotionally abused from that family. And 2 years ago, I was in my first treatment center ever, and I was on the phone with my oldest brother. He lives in Ohio, Cincinnati now, which I barely see him, but when we do, it's like we've left off where we've left off. And, I've learned that my mom was raped by the father of the person who raped me when I was younger. And, it was really harsh at the time of hearing that. And but at the same time, I'm really grateful for where I came from because they gave me the work ethic and, the love that I could give other people. And I didn't want to grow up being a drunk and dying the way my parents did. But, I still did the things that they did, was drink and drive. And there was this time that I was drinking and driving with my brother, and it was on his birthday, and to this day we laugh about it. He's like, you almost killed me on my birthday. And it just brings so much memories of, I didn't want to do that anymore. I think that's what, it was about 19 when that happened, and I didn't want to do that. And then, so I moved to, no, I ran away when I was 16 from my auntie and uncle. I jumped on my purple bike, ran away in the middle of the night, and I had a cousin that lived with us, and she was going to come with us, or come with me, and she was too afraid. So the fear was there in my whole life, being scared that, getting close to anybody or that I wouldn't be accepted. So I ran away on my purple bike, probably 2 hours on my bike, 16-mile house. I grew up in Clinton, BC after I moved from Williams Lake, and that's where I grew up, and ran away from Clinton. 16-mile, I got to my friend's place there, and she's like, I knocked on her door and it was midnight, and she's like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't want to be living in that place anymore. So I moved in with these beautiful, gifted parents of mine that I have today. They saved my life. And I was not the happiest person. They met my brother in bell racing, because my oldest brother was bell racing at the time, and that's how I got my gifted parents, and they accepted me to come and live with them whenever, we wanted to have a safe place to live. And so I moved in with them, and I was this child that didn't like rules anymore. I would do everything that you say not to do. I'd do the opposite of what you said to do. So in the summertime, I went to basic military in Wainwright, Alberta, and I went for training, and I didn't want to be there at all, and it was just to get me back into, a polite person. And going through that program, I didn't want to be there, but my dad said that you can't come home unless you finish this program. So I finished this program, I get back home, it's my graduation year at high school, and I still didn't like the rules. I moved out on my own when I was 17, and I graduated with First Nations, some kind of scholarship, I can't remember. But that's where my addiction started, was when I moved out on my own, mostly. Getting to who I was, I just went day by day, taking it as I can. And my motto at the time was work hard, play harder. So graduated high school, moved to Kamloops, BC, and I just got my first job at Burger Shop, Wendy's, and I didn't like that at the time, working at a burger joint. I was getting way too fat, so way too many meals, and so I went to school for trades, because I thought, the trades, I can move anywhere I want in the world, having certificates. So this trade program had basic certificates for flagging, H2S, all the oil field tickets I needed. So I did that, and I started flagging. And then I met this woman. I was in a bar one night, and I met this woman. She was 40 years old, and I was 19. And she was attracted to me, and we got together, and she had 2 younger kids, and my parents told me that this woman was using me. I didn't see at the time because I was just 19. fun. Let's go get drunk and rock and roll. So that went on for 2 years, and I blew the 35 grand on cocaine and alcohol. And, looking back, leaving the kids, not attended, didn't care where they were, what time they went to bed, if they ate, what they ate. And then after that, I met this other woman that, I was engaged to this woman the next woman for 2 years, and we were supposed to get married, and there was this lie that I cheated on her, and I couldn't go on forward being with someone that I cheated on them with. So I told her, and then the drugs and alcohol quit at the time when I was with this woman for a bit, and then it came back, and then that relationship was destroyed. And then I moved to Vernon. I was like, well, this is done. I'm over. So and then at the time I lost my license from a DUI. From breaking up, I drove from Kamloops to Vernon without remembering how I got there. But I remember driving. I get to Vernon. I got to just outside of Vernon. And I pulled over to get an energy drink, my favorite thing. And I had a base in the back of the vehicle and didn't hear the cops behind me. And I pulled over, and there was 5 cops standing behind me, and they're like, "Did you not hear us?" And I'm like, "Nope." "Have you been drinking?" "Of course, all the 6-pack and maybe the 12-pack behind me, if that's called drinking." And so they took my vehicle, they took my license away, and they just left me on the street. And that's the beginning of, living in Okanagan started. I was going to a friend's house and called her up and said what has happened, because she knew I was on my way. And she's like, wow. She came and picked me up with her friend, and we went back out to the bar that night. Didn't learn my lesson. Let's go back out. So that happened, and I was completely lost. And, I went out to the bar and I'd fight guys that were bigger than me. And, I didn't know who I was. And today I know who I am. I'm the strong, independent person that loves to help people and give to people things that I didn't have. So I moved to Vernon, and actually, let's jump back I just had a thought of my Auntie Rose. She was a woman that was in my childhood that I'd really like to talk about. She was an elder from Clinton, BC, and this woman showed me how to hunt, how to fish, how to live off the land. And I'm not really into my Aboriginal side, and she was the only woman that showed me how to do those things. And every time I was with her, she would tell me, well, we should be writing these things down. What if I go, what if I die? And I'm like, you're never going to die. You're going to live forever. But when the day came of losing her, she didn't tell anybody that she was dying from cancer. She kept it to herself, and that's strength, to try to fight something for, to keep her family close. And I lost her, and I was down in Agassiz for my best friend's wedding in Kelowna here. And I lost her, and, that really put me back into addiction. I lost more of myself. I didn't care. And last summer was the day that I was taking my life. I tried heroin for the first time, and I went down twice. The guy that I did it with thought he killed me the first time, and I just kept doing it. And then at the time I was roofing, and it wasn't doing it. So I quit my job. I quit quit my life, and I took a bunch of pills and wanted the pain to end, because that's all that I knew was pain. And one of my good friends in Kelowna here, I said goodbye to her, and I said goodbye to another girlfriend, the last relationship I was in, and I just didn't want to live anymore, and took the pills. And my friend Trina came and saved me. She knew where my ex lived, because that's where I took all my pills, and I had these anti-anxiety and depression pills, and I didn't know how much, and T9 or T3s. And I remember falling asleep in my friend's car, going to the hospital, and waking up in the hospital. And that's the day that I knew God didn't want me to die. Like, I tried so many things to end it. It wasn't meant to be, so, I said I would try again to get into a treatment center. And before I did that, I got into detox. It was the first time going to the detox, and I was calling a detox the whole week before I ended my life, day after day after day, trying to get a hold of them. And then I got a phone call saying that there was a bed available, and I got in right away, because I didn't want to live anymore, and I knew if I continued what I was doing, jumped from relationship to relationship, and that I wouldn't be here today. So I went to the detox, and then after that, I was transferred right to Bridgeway Treatment Center in Kelowna. And for the second time, they were pleasantly happy to have me back there. I wasn't really happy to be back there. So I finished that program. It was another round that I met a bunch of girls, and I said I wasn't going to go to another treatment center, because I wasn't going to, I needed to get back to work and pay my bills and live life, because that's all I knew. I covered the pain to work through the pain. And so I went to my friend's house and laid in bed for 4 days after treatment. And I said, okay, I guess it's time to go back to treatment, because I still had that feeling of not wanting to do life anymore. I got into Now Canada, and that's where my life changed. They teach you how to live responsibly. Guess that's one thing that I got out of it. How to love myself, and it was a beautiful program, because I was taught the things that I was never taught when I was younger. How to look after yourself, how to take care of yourself. All those things were never shown to me. I was shown how to work, and that's about it, and not to take care of myself. So I finally took 6 months off of work. And I know I skipped a whole bunch of portion of my story, so you guys could read that in the book. finishing the program while I was in the program, I met Diana, and I told her I wanted to tell my story, and I graduated the NOW program, and and that's when we started the book, was at the end of my graduation, and so after that I was coming here every Friday, and then I got baptized after graduation. I asked my brother if I was baptized when I was younger, and he said yes, I was, and I was like, I don't remember that, I'm going to do it again. Let's just clear up this air of what I've done in 19 years, or 28 years. So I got baptized, and now I have a beautiful home. I started from living with roommates to having a place of my own, into a 3-bedroom place, and I have a beautiful girlfriend and beautiful friends that support me, and I'm really grateful that, you know, the people I've met in my life support me in the way they can. I can love myself and love others and not be angry with life anymore. It's beautiful to be alive today, and we've got to take it day by day, and I'm just so grateful that Diana gave me this chance to share my story, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, because I wanted to share my story so many times. And you've showed me how to not take things personally. This woman's kicked my ass to meet her, to like finish up my story. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll procrastinate. I'll do it. The next day, no, she knows how to kick your ass. And I'm going to kick ass in life. So thank you very much.
I love you. I love you.